I'm Daniel Tennison, a professional Highland Games thrower. You can find me on Facebook, D Jones Tennison, or on Instagram, EvilDan_VBC.
Okay, now share with us your background in the sport.
Sure. So in this sport, I started in Kansas City in 2015. I entered a C-class competition up there. And then in September, I actually threw in this games, which was at McPherson, Kansas at the time. And then went to North-South Games. And in April, I came back to the Wichita Games, this very games we're at now, and competed. Competed one season as an amateur and then turned pro. So I've been a professional ever since then. So I had about 5 or 6 games as an amateur.
Okay. So what's the difference between amateur and pro?
On the surface, you generally have a lot more former collegiate athletes, collegiate throwers. I was a shot putter. I know Spencer's a shot putter, a lot of the other guys. It's rare to not have a collegiate background in throwing to move up in pro. It's actually a little bit more relaxed. It's the competition is stiffer. We're closer grouped together, but it's a lot more relaxed generally. I did notice that immediately when I changed over. It's a little bit more loose. We have a good time and we just go out there and compete. Not a lot of pressure at most games. You know, your world championships, your U.S. championships, Celtic, you have some pressure, but other than that, it's a little bit more laid back.
Okay. And so how do you train to be a pro versus the amateur?
I think the main thing you're going to see is just the amount of time. You know, the 10,000 hour rule. The 10,000 hour rule. Now, I don't know if all of us have 10,000 hours in it, but just a lot more time and a lot more film study, I do notice. You have a lot of these amateurs that don't move up, that kind of get stuck, that they go out and practice by themselves. They don't film their sessions. They don't reach out and find a group to go over their sessions. So I would say the main thing is the mental side of it. If you have the physical gifts, now the God-given physical talents, you can't change. What you can change is how much time and effort you put into it. And a lot of it's on the mental side that I see.
Okay. How do you train in the off season?
So I do a strength-based training program. I go back to the big 3 lifts, mainly do squat, deadlift, and bench press, and just try to get bigger and stronger. I don't worry about any technical things really. I don't watch much video. I don't go out and throw. If it's over 50, I might go catch a session just because I miss throwing. But my off season is centered around the gym and getting stronger every time, and it's generally getting stronger in the big compound lifts.
Okay. And then what is your training cycle like in the on season?
When I transfer from my off season to in season, I start doing a lot more explosive lifting, a lot more jumping, bounding, running. A lot less wear and tear in the gym. I'm trying to take my tonnage down, my volume down, or even volume up but weight down, so I can manipulate a couple things: frequency, intensity, and volume. So I try to just carry the strength that I've gained in the off season and learn how to transfer it and implement. So I switch mainly to Olympic lifting, and I do just a very little bit of the big 3.
Okay. And so tell me a little bit about your nutrition. How do you, because you know,
Sure.
that's 65% of it.
Right. I don't track as well as some of the other guys do. I know during the season, I have a tendency to gain about 12 to 15 pounds. Just traveling and eating, it just happens. Plus, I seem to throw better at right around 300 pounds. In the off season, I generally try to float back down to 280, get rid of some of the excess weight, and just add lean mass. So my weight fluctuates between 280 to 300 pounds generally. I'm 300 in season, I'm about 280 off season, and I'm right around there now. I think I was 283 today.
Okay.
I'll push that number up as we get into, through the summer and into September. I'll probably be pushing 300 pounds.
Okay.
Just more calories, probably not as clean eating, but I'm just trying to add weight to sustain the wear and tear of the season and to push the endurance.
Okay. And so if you were talking to new young throwers, what would you recommend to them as far as training? Let's just talk about the in-season.
Sure.
Training, nutrition. What advice would you give the new thrower? Somebody just walking out.
Sure. The main thing I would tell you in the training is to learn how to translate any strength that you have into an implement. That's what's missed so much. I've had a ton of friends that are strongmen or powerlifters come out and they can't transfer that strength into an implement. A lot of these events we're doing rotational things, but it's transferring linearly, and if you don't know how to translate the power you can generate, you're lost. So you see these new strong guys come out and they're great at the wob, some of them are good at the sheaf, even the caber or the Bramer stone, but when they start moving they can't do it. So I'd learn how to translate that into a little athleticism, learn how to move, jump, sprint, do Olympic lifts, things like that. That would be the main focus. If you're a big strong person, learn how to move and learn how to use that strength.
Okay.
And again, the mental side, I would spend most of my time when I'm new getting out there and learning the implements, but then I would transfer and translate into film study. I would do film study. I would watch the guys that are throwing far. I would watch Spencer and Chuck and those guys. Nate Burchett, Matt Vincent has a series out there. You know, you're doing things, and there's information out there to find on the internet in the click of a button now. I would do it. That's what I'd spend my time doing.
Okay, and so say a little bit about surviving game day. You can do all the amount of training and nutrition and everything in the world, but you get out here and if you choke, you choke.
Right. Mentally speaking, especially at the amateur class, I know a lot of people's their main focus is moving up class. You know, you hear it in the C class. I can't wait to be a B thrower in the B class. I can't wait to be an A, and then your A throwers. I can't wait to be. Just go out there and do what you can do. I think the main thing that really helped me being a collegiate thrower was I was used to an individual sport where I knew if I went out and did the best I could be happy with that performance. I can't control what anybody else is doing. You see people that get worried about, these people that get worried about what their competitors are doing and how far they're throwing or how high they're throwing. You can't control any of that. You can't control if a guy no heights or a guy breaks a world record. All you can do is throw what you do. And if you go out and you have a good day for yourself and you're happy with how you trained and you know you left no stone unturned and you go out there and throw and that's what you had that day, take it at face value for what it was and move on. And if you're not happy, make it up the next time.
All right, so how do you work on your consistency? So the consistency of your throws, that is something that you can control.
Oh, sure.
To a point.
Sure.
To a point.
So this goes to the off-season, in-season thing. Translating or transitioning from off-season into the in-season, my volume will pick up. I'll go 2 days a week throwing, and then as we go to the in-season, I'll up the volume in the throwing and I'll lower the volume in the weight room. That helps. Just repetition helps consistency. You know that. The more reps you do, the more comfortable you get with it, the more repeatable it is. The more comfortable you get just moving and transitioning that power, you're going to get better and you're going to get more consistent. You're going to have days where you suck. You're going to have days where you're on top of the world. But generally speaking, in the pro class, you know what a guy's good for most every day. You know he's going to go out there and he's going to be a 40-80 guy in the weights or a 40-50 guy in the stone, and it's just there. And there's a little bit of variation, but the more reps and the more time you get with the implements, the more consistent you're going to get for sure.
Okay, so it's in season and you're practicing. How many reps do you do typically? And let's just go over some of the implements.
Sure. So the hammers, I generally start all my practices with heavy hammer and light hammer. It's just the way I've done it. I like it. I like the way it warms my body up. So I'll do a lot of one turns with the heavy hammer where I'll wind once, throw it to the ground and go after I do my drills and warm-ups. I'll do 4 to 5 reps there, 4 to 5 reps with a 2, and then I'll do 10 to 12, depending on the day. Maybe as little 6. If I'm having an off day, I'll pack it in. But I try to hit about 8 to 12 reps, full-on reps, 3 of those being competition-style reps that I'll end my practice on. So I'm not doing much in season. But when I started out now, I was doing, 20 to 30, maybe even more. I was out there for hours.
One more throw.
Sure.
I'll get it after one more throw.
Sure, yeah, sure. And sometimes you end up doing a lot more harm than good when you're in that too. So you have to learn how to shut it off on a bad day. When you're having a good day, press that rep number up to the top of the range.
Okay. And while we're on this subject a little bit, let's talk about recovery. What kind of a recovery cycle do you have?
Sure. I will never do 3 days in a row. So I'll do like a gym day and a throw day and then a recovery day. Also, a lot of my gym time in season is spent recovering. I'll do the foam roller. I'll take the jigsaw and roll it on me. I'll do ice baths, contrast showers, whatever it takes. I spend a lot of time recovering, especially the older we get. I'm not 22 anymore. I'm 36. A lot of these young guys don't pay much attention to it, but the older you get, the more time in recovery you're going to spend. So I would do 2 days on, 1 day off, and if you have to rotate the way your week looks like, you can't go in every Monday and Tuesday and throw. Maybe the next week you go Tuesday and Wednesday and then a break. But work it out where you're not doing 3 or 4 days in a row because you're just doing more harm than good at that point, I think.
Good. That's great advice. All right. So now you're in a room full of current athletes. What would you say to them to help them not only improve their throwing, but to just be better people, all around better people?
We have a saying in the pro class that's "Don't be a dick." That's the most surefire advice to be a better person. Don't be a dick. That would be it. Simple.
Okay, I like it.
Yeah.
All right. And so what's next?
I go to Sacramento in a couple weeks and throw and open my season, and then I'm off to Victoria, Costa Mesa in May. I'll go to Alaska. in June, and then hopefully in July I'll do Portland and Enumclaw, and then the back end of the season kind of writes itself. I know I'm going to Fergus, Canada this year in Pleasanton. We'll see if we qualify for Celtic Classic and maybe the World Championship. So September's a little bit open, but the rest of my season's pretty much booked. I've got about 8 to 10 games right now,
Good.
maybe up to 14 total.
Okay. Final thoughts.
Yeah, I wanted to tell you I appreciate this. I appreciate what you're doing. It's always nice when people get information that people can find easily. And I think sometimes it's lacking in our games. You know, like I said, Matt did a series, and it's easy to find on YouTube. There's NASGA, although the boards have kind of transitioned over to Facebook. If you're new to the games and you want to find out something, find somebody who's throwing well and reach out to them. When I was up and coming as an amateur, I reached out to Dan McKim, Spencer Tyler, Matt Vincent, Nate Burchett. These guys had no idea who I was. They didn't know me from Adam. And I asked every one of them a question, and every one of them reached out to me and answered my question. So people are accessible in our sport. Even the top level pros, you know, 5-time world champion will answer your question in an hour.
Right.
So that would be my advice. My final thought is if you have a question, find somebody you think knows the answer, reach out and gather information and use it to the best of your ability.
Thank you very much.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.